Welcome back, everybody. Wildcat Fanalytics, where Arizona basketball fans try to make sense of the unsensible, apparently.
Yeah, yeah. This
Ha-
program.
yes, so Mike and I are going to try to dive into some sense making of this wild ride of a season. Let's jump right in. Do you have it in your heart for a Bear Down Award, Mike?
I do, yeah, and I'll preface that this was like my least favorite week of the season. Even though we had a nice win to finish it up, not my happiest. So that's why you say, do I have it in me, right? Um, I my Bear Down Award is really both Caleb and Pella, and I think they are just showing how much leadership they provide, on the court, and they both have faults where Pella not showing up on the score sheet, sometimes, which is really tough for us, or Caleb kind of overdoing it, which is tough for us. But man, I do feel great knowing that we have two really strong wings as our best players. And so I think they collectively showed up this weekend, or this past week, and thank God for it.
Right on. Yeah, and that seems like a really nice commentary moving forward in terms of when we start talking about recruiting and roster construction, how important wings are in the modern game.
Yeah, I thought you would think of that as well,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And you think about the NBA and how the transition in the NBA towards a wing game,
Mhm.
and how much they value those guys. Obviously, the NCAA game kind of, I think, lags the NBA often, and you're not going to have the same kind of caliber of guys because those guys get plucked out and sent off. But you can't have them and you can't emphasize them, and I think you and I are hoping that
Mm.
Tommy does, right?
We're looking at that 24, 25, both those classes
Yeah,
as being a real opportunity to reshape the core uh like driving force of the team. And we won't get lost on this now, but
hmm
it's been noted that his first two teams were very big, heavy, and very inside out oriented. And I understand his offensive system will continue to be that. And I like that most of the time. And I
yeah.
think I think he's also shifting, much like Lute Olson did in the early 90s, really shifting to understanding the importance of dynamic guards and wings in the modern
Yeah,
game. So
yeah,
it's
totally.
exciting to see. If you want to learn more about the recruiting um, rumors that are happening and inside information, go to wildcatauthority.com, where you can find out the exciting progress in the 24, 25 classes, 25 class especially.
Yeah,
Well,
and
basically,
you
since we
can,
haven't lost anyone yet, it has a lot of potential in terms of the main guys.
yeah, and you can hop onto the 24/7 recruiting, the free recruiting site, and see
Mhm.
the offers we've made, and kind of glean, some ideas of what we're talking about there. Some really incredible kids in that class, and we're in on them, so it's awesome. We're excited about that.
Exciting. So my
Yeah.
Bear Down Award is going to Keyshawn Johnson. It's not
hmm
it's not a week that I felt super excited to do this award, and I think that reflects, more the hearts and minds of the fan base, which we'll get into in a minute here. But
hmm
one thing I thought that was encouraging about Keyshawn, not only did was he visibly more active against Washington, but he got to
Yeah.
the line 16 times combined in those
Ooh.
two games, which is kind of something we've been asking for, this year is how do we involve that four man,
Yeah.
who's not as skilled and diverse as scorer as Tubelis has been the last 2 years. And so it's okay for the balance of power in terms of our offensive agency to shift toward the backcourt. Um, but also we need to have balance and we need to have reliable, 2-point shot making. So exciting to see that Keshad got to the line that many times. It's a really good sign. I think he also had 5 blocks, 10 rebounds. I think he had 28 points. So,
Wow.
we'll take that all day.
That's fantastic.
Right, really high efficiency shooting, a couple steals. So, let's hope that that continues. We have a couple clips that we're going to get into, and unless you have more to say about that, or so feel free to comment on that while I pull up one of these clips, maybe.
Yeah, definitely. And so I when I'm talking about Caleb and Pella being leaders, and that next guy that I think of is Keyshot. And so to have your 2-3-4 being, emotional leaders, being, kind of tone setting guys, being tough, being playing good defense, putting pressure on the rim. That's a really good place to be in. I think you can include Balo as another guy who has been, especially recently, really really solid, a double double guy. And I'll leave it at that because that probably allows us to segue into
Yeah.
um, some
Yes.
concerns
Well,
later in this show.
we'll run through. I'm going to run through these two, and then I'll pick up some of your clips here. But just as
Okay.
long as we're talking about Keyshawn, there's two clips back to
Yeah.
back here that are some interesting evidence on multiple players. But here's one where we're on a defensive rebound, and you can see right here, he's actually the first one down the floor.
Hmm.
If you can't see him, he's in front of number one there. He's posting. He's got
Yeah.
an early post position, and Boswell, um, 34 here. Let me help. 34 here is trailing the play. So
I love that you picked this
okay,
play
yeah.
because this is one of my highlighting
Oh, this was one of
plays
yours too.
continue.
Okay,
No, no,
so
not when I sent you. It was just one that has stuck with me throughout the weekend or throughout
right
since
on.
the game.
Yeah. So again, beyond me to think that I know about tactics and decision making on this level. So there's an opportunity here, and I don't know
There
if this
sure
was the
is.
right call or not, but Boswell decides to pass on this opportunity. He rotates the ball, and Keyshot kicks out, and he actually ends up getting an open three, which is nice and looks nice by design. But we're hope that we have more like this, where Caleb finds Keyshot on the break, and so he,
Yeah.
yeah,
So he and focusing back on what he had there, that opportunity, right? We had a
let me
three
go
on
back.
three.
Yeah,
Yeah, and so to have a 3-on-3 like that, with such deep post position by Johnson, who look at him, he's doing just a fantastic job sprinting back, really gets deep in there. And so all Kylan has to do here is beat one man, and the floor's kind of wide open for us. So yeah, I was disappointed. It did result in the
would
three.
you would you like to see him try to make that entry?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, a shake and a post entry or however you need to get that ball in there, but to just and obviously Caleb can
Mhm.
he's been fantastic. His vision has really been a plus for him. Um, so yeah, I think that's something that I've been harping on for the year, that the post entry out of Kylan could be better improved.
Yeah.
Um, so congrats on the 3 points there. I think that's a missed opportunity, same as you.
All right. Why don't we go through mine since there's a few, and I think they work well into yours.
Yeah.
Okay. So I had those two, and then right off the bat, I just wanted to, there's a lot of scrutiny around Caleb's potential, and my sense is he's actually, and I think you've highlighted this too, that he's sometimes at his best when he's facilitating, especially
Yeah.
you've commented how you love the ball screen offense with Balo, but here's the opening possession of the game where Love has the opportunity to force a shot and instead kicks it out, and they end up working another half a revolution of the continuity, and they get a shot.
Yeah.
So watch this. So here he is, and you think, oh, here's a shot. Nope, kick it out, and Pella gets the weak side
Yeah, the blow
drive.
by. Yeah.
Yeah,
Super, super smart, right? For him to get in there, put 2 feet down, turn. That was something that Tommy talked about as Caleb was coming in over the summer. That was something that he was pressing into his brain. That hey, look, if you get in there, you get into the trees. You don't have to just kind of go up on one foot and throw something up or try to throw out a wild pass. So great to see the jump stop and look for the continued continuity. I think
yeah.
continued continuity of the offense is something that we've probably been thirsty for, maybe without even realizing it, right?
Yeah, and I think it's probably rooted somewhat in Caleb's trust of everybody, and those plays like that go a long way in saying, all right,
Yeah.
you don't have to carry the world on your shoulders. So this next one, this is a awkward segue, but our hopefully this season's non-pariah, but everybody's struggling to make sense of Boswell. This is not to pick on him, but of course he's involved, and this is I partially show this because we're 90 seconds in. And this is a
Hmm.
a simple ball screen. And I'm just as a team, I'm wondering, is this like what our defensive expectation is. Like
Yeah.
he just both of them just stand there. They did a nice job recovering. Both of them just standing there. There's no attempt to disrupt
No
the
attempt to
shooter.
rotate.
So here we are,
And
and we've got help. Go ahead.
yeah, and I this one killed me as well. And so you're always right inside my brain, buddy. um, do you could Kylan contest Brooks, who's a much bigger player? I mean, he could do something, make an effort. Yeah, I just you hate
Look,
to
I
see the
mean,
very beginning, the lack of urgency in the very beginning of the game,
he's
right?
yeah, and this goes back to what we're saying about 3-point shooting, which we're gonna show some stats around 3-point shooting. And just making people comfortable. Anybody who's played basketball knows that
Mm-hmm.
3-point shooters like rhythm, they like
Yeah,
comfort, and
yeah,
it's not that Kylan's going to actually even contest this or
sure.
surely not block it, but maybe you take a quick couple jabs and he's got to dribble or
I'll
yeah. But
I'll
look,
tell you what. Go ahead.
go
Yeah, it's
ahead.
just wide open. And what would Houston do? Maybe that's a
Yes,
good question that we should ask ourselves as as we look at Arizona basketball defense. What would the Houston Cougars do? They would
they would
do a
have switched.
flyby closeout.
Yep.
One, they would have switched, yeah.
Yep.
But if they saw that open shot, that would have been a sprinting flyby closeout.
Yep.
You don't not a chop feet trying to get a hand up, but really just go full force and try to get in the airspace to just freak the guy out, at least, like you said, to try to get him out of rhythm. And maybe he still hits the shot, but you're 90 seconds in. You have the legs. Like, go for it.
Yes, and be a team that gets in the other team's head that if you take a shot, you better be committed because we're coming at you. And I think that
Yeah,
plays with the psychology of shooters enough that they don't get at least, super comfortable. I mean, you can still go 12 for 20 against Houston, but you're going to have to really be committed to getting those shots off, and they're probably going to be under duress. And yes, they're going to sell out and they're going to give up the occasional roller to the hoop, but I
sure.
think, yeah, and we'll get into this at the end today. I'm disheartened by the lack of ferocity.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. And especially after a loss, to start the game with that level of sort of lackluster energy on the defensive end was really disappointing.
Yeah. So to balance it out, just a quick, I don't know. This wasn't to balance it out. I just, I want to
Hit
say
me with a ray of sunshine.
I'm rooting for Kylan. I think like
Of
the team,
course.
the team's best path forward is for him to continue to mature and develop. And I like this
Killer
decision.
Kylan is
Yeah,
who we need back. Yeah.
I like this decision making here. He's got basically an empty side.
Love that.
He's got the primary defender in jail. He's
Yep.
he's he's got his head up and he's assessing his options. He's got
Mm-hmm.
KJ out here at 30 feet, and he's got
Mm-hmm.
the roller here. It's really could force a pocket pass, but
I like
what
the
he
pocket pass personally, but
sure, but what he does
yeah.
is he fakes it and he steps back. And look, like he can make that shot, and that's
Yeah, he
where
can.
he separates himself from the average point guard. So I like the confidence and I like the decision making there.
As well. And while I do love the simple play, maybe a simple play, maybe those hands are quicker and longer than I can see, from here, from the defender. But that is the shot that we were expecting Kylan to continue to make this year, as we thought about what would bring him into a first round draft pick, which was his expectation, and sort of the ongoing media expectation, the board's expectation, fan board. Could he create, could he be a guy that consistently creates separation off the dribble in order to hit pull up jumpers? We saw a lot of it in high school. We saw some of it last year. We saw some of it to start the year. I'm a fan of that shot. He needs to be hitting it, for his own sake and for our sake. So
Yeah.
glad to see him do it.
So you wanted to run through the Kylan unfortunate segment, yeah.
Yeah, I,
Or
I think
what?
it's worth. I mean, we don't know if we need to watch the whole thing. It's
Okay.
just, um, it's so
Why don't I roll it and you can comment?
yeah,
It's gonna take a
yeah.
minute.
So, and obviously, and there's been plenty of media on this, right? That Tommy gets in on Kylan during this game, and this is pretty early in the game. Um,
six
So
minutes ago. Here, I just want to
that
point out here we've been asking him to go to the hoop. Nothing wrong with that if you think you can make that shot. He totally botches it and he ends up falling out of bounds 96 feet away. But what I what I'm curious about is the recovery here.
he had already he'd already given up points on the other end, right? So that was him trying to make up for a failure on the defensive end. He sprints in, and Balo isn't in that play
Yeah.
when he's not even using the rest of his team. And so, look, when you're going in and you utilize a Balo or any of our big guys uh, on a duck in,
Yeah.
that's great. But Balo isn't even aware of what's going on here,
Right. Right.
and so you end up just you're 1-on-2, you're 1-on-3 really. He's got all three defenders sort of
And he's
down
just
there
maybe a little overzealous.
100%.
Mhm.
And so that's what when we were talking about Caleb taking that jump stop and kicking it back out and running the continuity. And it that's what we're talking about, and it dovetails with my concerns about pace. And if we're playing with pace that is productive, that's great. If we're playing with pace that is obviously leading to easy baskets, awesome. But if we're just putting up shots quickly because that's what we feel, because it feels fun to jack a shot or to sprint and throw up a prayer layup, that's tough because those are wasted possessions, and in those
Yeah.
slower possession games like a Wazoo, you can't afford to give up that many empty possessions on the offensive end, especially with an offensive team that can be this productive as they are, right?
Yes. And then to my point,
Yeah,
when the point guard is flailing into the pep band, the floor balance issue, and he's kind of jogging back, and
yeah, he's
you
behind the
got,
play.
and now you're
Oh, I
four
hated
on
this.
three, and he got
Yeah,
back in it, but not quickly enough for Pella to get to the wing. So here he gets the ball in bounds. We're just going to let it roll, and he gets picked. He's jogging
yeah.
back.
That was, and that was what I didn't show is like, yeah, it's like 20 seconds of him just kind of dribbling the ball
Right.
around and just like wasting the clock. And then he gets picked
And then
and then he gets burned.
he gets burned with just kind of a half effort
Oh,
there.
it's just,
Yeah.
oh yeah. Well, yeah, he
And
reaches.
watch Tommy.
Oh, Tommy's pissed.
He points right to Bradley. And
Yeah,
there's the
you're
and
in.
there's the timeout, of course, that has been all over the media.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
there were several examples of him in that total sequence on defense, kind of like like heavy feet and then just sort of reaching,
mhm.
kind of gambling on a steal. And there's other clips that I think I shared with you
You got some.
where he's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get involved by kind of gambling on a steal, and I just need you to be in good position, man. Like it's you're not gonna win the game by getting your hand in and getting that one steal. You could lose a game by continuing to be out of position, and giving up open shots.
Here's one you wanted to highlight.
Yeah.
Oh, my screen share is loading. Here we go. Great job there. Yeah.
Oh
I
yeah. No. So this is when he came back into the game, right? So
Right.
after he gets chewed out, or this is
This
the
is the
second
beginning of
half.
the second half. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So this is good. This and,
Mhm.
and, and all this is just basic good defensive positioning, right?
Get over the screen, recover.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Beautiful.
He did try for the steal, but that's okay because he was light on his feet. That's cool.
You
Like
try
all I'm
for the,
asking you,
yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
oh, and just all I'm asking you to do, just keep it 100, keep it
Well, yeah, and play for the team consciousness. Yeah.
totally.
And then what happens after this, of course, it's almost like karmic fate, right? So now he gets a drag screen here from Balo. He takes his time this time
I loved
and
this
just
too.
in rhythm. Yeah.
Yeah. And so
Excuse
that's
me.
exactly what I'm talking about is that the good things can, those are simple good things that he needs to
Mhm.
do. Right over the top of the ball screen, stick in the rear view and get back in front of the hip. And then that play doesn't result in points for them. It goes the other direction for us. And that's the simplest shot for him to hunt or to capitalize on where okay, he goes under that screen on Balo and by Balo and that's a wide open three for him. And I
And
love
it's
it.
just keep it simple. Keep it
Super.
simple and play within yourself. And then like Matt Muehlbach said this summer, play off of 2 feet. That's what makes him so
Yeah.
solid and what was so unsettling about Kerr sometimes, even though
Hmm.
nobody ever doubted Kerr's intensity, he was sometimes a little not on 2 feet. And so
Yeah.
Boswell just getting back to being Boswell. So here's one you wanted to highlight here. Defensive recovery again. Yeah, those.
Yeah. And so there,
Yeah,
Pella already had the lane,
yep.
and I get walling off a guy. I understand, but if it's a 2-on-2, which this is, you just Pella's right there, man. Pella
Yeah.
already has the lane. Like he's got like I need you to get out onto the perimeter and cover that because you're just leaving open a wide open
He
three
got
point shooter and obviously you capitalize on it.
he
And
got suckered in by the missed dribble here and he went for the steal.
yeah,
But even before that,
you're in the wrong defensive
you're in the
position.
wrong position. Like he should
Yeah,
be right here, he should be fanning this way. Maybe at
exactly.
least you want to drop a little bit to protect the
100%.
drive, but
Totally.
he should be probably like somewhere in here, I would guess. And instead
You're
he's got his eyes here and he goes right for the ball. Now you're
100%.
yeah, and now Pella's
You're at Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, exactly right. Shade towards protecting that passing, cutting off that passing lane where you can pivot to get a contest up.
because courtesy of our very own Fry Rice, shout out Wildcat Authority, who Fry Rice we're hoping to have as a guest host here one of these days. Sent us this morning. This is a scatter plot of
Nice.
Arizona's transition 3-point defense. And so I
Oh
believe
God.
every one of the it is a little can you see that? Does that show up all right?
I can see it and I don't like it.
So he did us a favor by pointing out Arizona because these are all just like dots. So
These are
um
all teams, right?
right. So you've got
Yeah.
four quadrants here. I think on the y-axis is 3-point field goal percentage defense. So what opposing teams shoot against us in transition. So you can see we're down here. It's about 40. I think he said 43.8. In that
Brutal.
means just teams starting out, teams shoot 43.8% in transition, regardless of volume.
Hmm.
And
And they shoot
X
them at a high volume.
the x-axis is the percentage, I believe, of possessions that end up that way. Yeah. So you are in this quadrant as very scientifically terrible at preventing transition threes. I love it. Tell it like it is. So we are one of the worst handful of teams in the country at um, preventing 3-point percentage efficiency in transition.
And I just had some pain in my head hearing this and thinking about that last play, especially. That goes along with something I was looking into recently, which was we're over the last 5 games, we're I think the worst team in the country at giving up fast break points.
Let me, yeah, let me rephrase that just so my man Fry Rice doesn't get misrepresented here.
Yeah.
Um, what this says is we give up 38% from three in transition, which is 267th nationally, and 43.9, that 43.9 of all transition shot attempts are threes, which is
Okay.
350th nationally. So if you want to hunt threes in transition, you want to play Arizona.
Jeez.
And the eye test would confirm that. I mean, that's how Utah came back, right? Just
Yeah.
rushing the ball up the court and Gabe Madsen just bombing, video game bombs. And we've seen it, Colorado even did that a little bit. Remember, we talked about Colorado and I was like, we gave up 79 points and there's a lot in transition. And I mean, Washington scored 75 points pretty casually.
Yeah.
We also give up 56% from two in transition, which is more towards the mean.
Yeah. I don't hate
We're
that, but
yeah, we're a little above the mean in national points per possession in transition. We're 0.98, which is actually pretty good. And Fried Rice's contention is the only reason that it's not worse is because we don't foul. We are 35th in the lowest foul percentage.
nice.
So I mean, I would say to me, there's actually something encouraging about this in that this is not something that's super hard to correct.
Yeah. Yeah. There's
We
some
just,
upside here, is what you're saying.
yeah, like
Yeah.
like
Some low hanging fruit.
we've had this much success being that bad at defending an aspect of the game that is a lot easier to clean up in certain ways.
Yeah, it's pretty fundamental, right? Now I do wonder how much of that is our offensive rebounding, forces us to not have guys back in transition. But we have plenty of clips where we see it's equal, it's like a 2-on-2 like we just saw, and we just don't position correctly.
Yeah.
So I hopefully the team is working on it. Hopefully they're aware of it. Um, and it matches my concerns about pace, where you go, well, maybe they're spending so much energy running up the court that they don't have the energy to get back on every one. Over the last 5 games, we're getting 16.2 fast break points. We're giving up 16.
Mm.
Again, that's worst in the nation. 16 to give up 16 points on fast breaks. What is the pace doing for us? Yeah, so I'm worried. Guys can't be conserving their energy and giving up, or just playing dumb and giving up open fast break threes.
Whatever it is, it's an opportunity, and it will continue either to be an opportunity for opposing teams to attack us, or it will be an opportunity for us to improve. And I can be confident that if we know about it, then Tommy knows about it. And
Yeah,
now we got to see if they can put it into action. And tonight's game is a perfect opportunity for that, because you have a team of gunslingers that will let it fly and really test your fundamentals. So
yeah,
there's
totally.
one more clip that you had listed here at the end of the game, and I'll let you welcome you to walk us through this. This is with 2:20 to go in the game. Bradley's with the ball.
Mm-hmm.
What'd you like
Yeah.
here? Oh, the
I
love, Balo. Yeah.
love Balo. How much it just warms the heck out of my heart to see the love to Balo. Kind of pick and roll. I think this is a ghost screen from
Yep. Yep.
yeah, from Balo. Yep, goes it rolls over the top. Again, love. I said this the last couple of times that we've talked. Is Love draws so much attention from the defense and he's big and he's got great vision and touch. His
Oh, I think I lost your
me.
audio. Oh, there you are.
I think I lost you on the
Yeah,
audio.
we lost you on I think you were saying his vision and touch, talking about love.
Yeah,
That
yeah. So his vision and touch is just it allows him to toss that lob up, and then Balo's newfound athletic ability, his refound athletic ability to get up
Yep.
there and jam it. It's just incredible. There
Yeah.
was there, that again speaks to Caleb as a creator, which has been great to see. And there was a few plays where it was Caleb and Pella playing off of each other that were really inspiring to me, and I thought
Mhm.
was just, and that's part of why I thought of them as my Bear Down Award, is that there was a there was a play early on where Pella set a little kind of like back screen and sprinted to the hoop and for Caleb, and Caleb was able to hit him on the dish, and I think a little pocket pass, and Pella jammed it two-handed, and it those there was several plays in this game, in that Washington game, where the two of them just played off of each other. Pella hitting Caleb for an open three. Just really cool to see. And so if those guys are in rhythm and those guys are firing, and it gives me a lot of confidence in our ability to beat teams.
Beautiful. Mine too. I'm
Yeah.
going to show us one. This is let me see if I can get this here. But you talked about Balo and his ability to catch that lob with the left
Yeah.
hand. I'm sorry, folks. I can't. I have to get this out of my system, and I think, like, let's see if this shows in this highlight. This Washington State loss. Yes. We'll say more about this in a second. Maybe this is a good segue.
Yeah.
But this was unacceptable in a way. So here's the last play basically that turned the game. And when you talk about Balo being able to catch a lob with a left hand and finish, and all you need here is one of the easiest rebounds he'll ever see. And God,
Oh my God.
that is so brutal. It's so brutal. It's so brutal. And you know, it's like, yes, I get the commentary of perspective and these games happen, but eventually if you say 7 or 8 times in a year these games happen, then there are patterns. And like, I'm sorry, you gotta at that point in the game with the ball in that position, yes, a million plays influence a game. You gotta get that rebound, you gotta win that. You've got to go down and make one of two and put that game away if you
Yeah.
are a serious team.
Yeah. Yeah, you really do. Or else how are you gonna our focus, right? How are you gonna win six?
How are you gonna, yeah, and because that stuff can happen all the time. And that leads us into, I think, our therapeutic discussion for the fan base about where this team is. And you mentioned you were just for the first time all season feeling anger.
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty dour. um, this was a tough week. It reset my expectations. To contrast how well I thought we played in on the mountain trip to come home, and honestly, I wasn't happy with the Washington game. Obviously we lost that Wazoo game, and I wasn't. No one was happy about that. I thought we played really poorly in the Washington game for the
Yeah.
be to what our expectations are, to where this team can play. It wasn't there for me. Um, and to have that after a loss is really disappointing. Um, a lot of it for me is the young guys are really concerning. I don't know, and don't mean to kick guys, but Kylan, um, he needs to be better. Jaden Bradley not immune from criticism. Need more out of you. Um, KJ, can you stay on the floor? Can you continue to make an impact? I love the guy. And Krivas, same thing. Can you stay on the floor and make an impact? Really concerning. Love how much love how much we're getting out of the upperclassmen and how consistent those guys have been. They really have been. But the young guys, I don't know, man. I don't know. So, does this feel like a title team to me? I hate to prognosticate, and especially in the negative sense, but I've really lowered my expectation to be, look, if we make it to a Sweet 16, that's great. If we make it past that, yay. I just and look, a lot of it's matchup based, and maybe we hit some lucky breaks, or maybe these guys actually come together. I don't know. Not a
Mhm.
fortune teller, but my expectations have been shaken a little bit and dropped.
Yeah, and one thing I've been reflecting on myself as a fan is we've talked about like what it means to be an Arizona fan with the just deep, it's like peaks and valleys, more so than
Yeah,
a
yeah,
program. Like I told you, I'm putting together some long-term data to kind of understand that better that I'll present maybe in a couple weeks. But what I was really reflecting on is like there hits a point in every season where I lose faith and I need to see evidence. And
yeah,
I think because of what we've lived through over the last 25 to 40 years, depending how old you are, it's
yeah,
like the faith bucket is pretty low for me. And
yeah.
given how the last 2 seasons the trajectory has gone and seeing a similar trajectory happening,
Ugh,
then so I it's not that it can't happen. Again, I'm not gonna like doom and gloom prognosticate. They
yeah.
weird
Trying
weird
not
things
to.
weird things happen all the time. And we could, that maturity process can really congeal in odd ways as it did in 97, as it does with teams. And these are kids. And Kylan Boswell,
100%.
Kylan Boswell to me is the reason why all the conventional educational metrics, for whatever they're worth to you in your worldview, they say most developing male brains do well to wait. And
Yeah,
we looked at this with my son, who's June birthday, and like almost everything encouraged us to say it's better to be a year older than a year younger. And Kylan, as we've said many, it's been it's been beaten to death. He was young for the grade he was in,
yeah.
and then he bumped up. And so I wonder if this is simply just like you're asking this kid to be the guy, and I would say most of him wants to be that guy probably,
Hmm.
You can't rush that maturation process. You can have all the trainers around you and skill building, and sometimes skill can masquerade as maturity. And I wonder if
Yeah.
this kid, like, part of me feels really a lot of empathy for him because
Yeah.
he's probably feeling a lot of pressure and he's not handling it as well as he will when he's 21 or 22. And you can
Totally.
see the difference in someone like Love and Larson and Balo and Keyshawn. And they're just like waiting for this 18-year-old kid to mature. But guess what? It's probably not going to happen. It's probably not going to happen exponentially in the next 3 weeks.
Totally.
And so I think what we can hope for is, he gets as solid as possible and maybe hits a few shots early in the tournament. Um, but yeah, I don't have faith.
Just
I
rides a wave up. Maybe we catch
totally,
a wave up.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, he's just the kind of kid that probably is not bulletproof enough to have the resilience and the ego strength to handle some of the challenges that have been thrust upon him. And that's okay. I wouldn't have either at 18. And I think Tommy kind of gambled and he's like, I'm really impressed with who this kid is at his core. And I believe in him. And if we were in 1992, you'd be like, he's a great sophomore. He's going to be awesome. And his fourth
Totally.
year, he's probably an All-American. But
Yeah.
that's not the era we live in. So I'm much more in the place of I need to see it to believe it at this point. It's not, we don't have a program history like these, like UConn and Michigan State and Duke and Kansas, where you're like, oh yeah, we'll be fine. We'll get there. Like,
100%.
like my buddy in Connecticut earlier, he texted me and he's like, he was saying like, oh yeah, we lost to Kansas, but doesn't matter. We're gonna repeat. They're just like they just
Yeah.
have that faith is so it's almost like a reserve, like a deep bank
100%.
account. And we have so little as Arizona fans. So I'm not saying it's going to go poorly because that's no fun. Um, Certainly, I don't think it would surprise anyone if we lost in the second round. And I have my opinions about what a number one seed could do to this team. Not sure it's a great idea, but we'll see. Maybe I'd love to be wrong. And I do think at some point, however it comes, we just need that one breakthrough because we do
Yeah.
we do have enough historical legacy reserve that it will just kind of like catalyze and jumpstart all that stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I texted you the other day that I think that Tommy's like frustration with our crowd sometimes. Maybe he needs to think about what that crowd has been through over the last 25 years. And we just don't have that reserve like you're talking about to just draw upon to be like, no, it's gonna work out. And it's like, maybe it'll work out. I don't know, man.
We're becoming Boston Red Sox fans or Cubs fans or something.
Something
Well,
like,
and
yeah.
and that's the thing. Like if you come through what this team's been through this year, where you basically put yourself behind the eight ball early on, losing to Stanford, Oregon State, and then the Washington State game, all of which were underperformances in certain ways. And you just gave yourself very little room for error.
Yeah.
Then you come back, basically you come through that mountain trip as champions. You're like, this is it.
Hmm.
We're back on top. And then you have
Yeah.
this showdown with Washington State, which was set up, everything was set up for us to win that game. And
Yeah.
they battled back. They battled back a few times. I think you were saying you didn't think they looked sharp from the start, but you just like that there's a lack of appreciating and valuing opportunity
Yeah.
that I don't trust. Like if a championship team, a Houston, a Lute Olson team would have seen that game and said, now we've got our foot on their throats. And then
Haha.
yes,
Yeah. This is
but
it,
this
man.
but that's it wasn't that they laid down. I'm not saying that, but
No, not at all.
I'm sorry, you got to win that game.
Yeah.
If you're a serious team, you got to win that game.
Yeah. I think about the way that we talk about the NBA being a wing league, and I think about this team having some great wing players and post players, and maybe the point guard play kind of letting us down, and my mind goes back to the LeBron Heat years, and I'm like, can Kylan, can you just be Mario Chalmers
Hmm.
of that team, not Kansas, all world defense Mario Chalmers, but just even then, I think he was only taking like 7 or 8 shots a game, and
Hmm.
just, maybe putting up 10 points. But just, just be a role player, and be kind of solid, and let those guys that have built so much legacy and put so much time into their game, Let those guys shine and be the heroes. You just need to be a solid floor for them and allow them to shine.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I wish you could get 5 minutes with Kylan to encourage him, but I also I know those guys are doing what they can, and Tommy is a good leader, and they got Gardner, and those guys are good coaches. But that's why I had a feeling ASU would beat Washington State, as many of us did, and of course they did, and I didn't really like it because
No.
I think this team needs to earn something, and I think the problem is that they haven't earned anything, and they think that a number one ranking means something. They think that a number one seat, those aren't the achievements.
No.
For whatever reason, they just don't seem to appreciate the opportunity yet to the degree that a champion needs to, because it is so difficult. Again, I'm not making character judgments on our team. I think it's a really hard thing, and under the scope of all of college basketball,
Right.
like Tommy Lloyd's going to get us a 1 or 2 seed and in the hunt for a championship every year. Like, who wouldn't take that? That's amazing.
Yeah, totally.
But if we're going to get to that next step, it's a whole different animal to be able to come
Yeah.
in to begin with the margin for error that the postseason has in our sport. It's a super crazy format,
Yeah, totally.
and only the strong survive.
You have to have enough consistency over that period, which is why I keep saying, can't does this win us 6 games?
Yeah,
You just because if you don't win six, if you lose one of them, like pack your bags, man. That's it. You're
right.
going home, and that's what people are going to remember about your season.
Yeah, and that becomes the narrative. So I know we have to wrap up. I just want to make a point about ASU. Tonight, what are you what's your outlook going to Tempe after that 45-point win?
Do it again. Yeah, obviously, they're going to want us to look. These final games have a lot of emotional outside reasons for motivation. Now, do I love that? Do I wish that these guys were internally motivated, like you talk about all the time? Yeah, of course I do. But there is some great external motivators on these things. ASU is going to want to kick our teeth in after we did it to them. We got to make that long drive up the road. So go show them who's boss. We've got Oregon at home on senior night. Like Oregon's going to want to play spoiler. They're going to want to try to make the tournament somehow, some way. Even though it's probably unlikely. Hold down your fort for the seniors. These guys that have, like I said, have like blood, sweat, and teared it to get to where they are. And then obviously the road trip to LA.
Yeah.
Final game at Poly, and UCLA obviously is going to want to play spoiler as our final rivalry game in the pack, and big Saturday night showdown against LeBron, I guess. So
Well, it's sort of like the theme has become show me. It's the evidence of like,
yeah, yeah,
I actually have been a little bit nervous about this week because of the team we have um, since the mountain trip, because I think this is a week where both these teams could surprise us a little bit, and you gotta show me you want it. You have the conference title, which means way more to me than anything in the postseason, because you earn it over 20 games. Like, that's where the
yeah,
grit, the
totally.
grit, the grit comes through. Would I trade second or third place for an NCAA title? Of course. But
Yeah.
I noticed that a lot of my perspective and presumption is based on the fact that I think we're gonna have a disappointing NCAA tournament performance.
So like at
So I
least
like
get the
right.
conference.
Like, I have to also remind myself of that. Like, if I thought it would all be fine, I probably would be a little bit more relaxed. So, um, you need to show us. I love, somebody on the Wildcat Authority board said, like, just win the damn game. Like, enough of this. Like, go out, like you just said, go out
Yeah,
and exert your will. And I think the one thing I
yeah,
could say that I admire about Bobby Hurley is his will is indomitable, similar to Mick Cronin, maybe not so much of an a-hole. And
yeah,
like, the will flows downhill. If you get downhill on ASU, they can just turn into a weird kind of, you know, crazy high performing team for 20 minutes. And then all of a sudden you're drowning before you know it, and before you can
yeah. You're upside
recover.
down. You're going, what's going
Yeah.
on here?
And then, like, you kind of figure it out that you're being duped and it's not really that threatening. And then you kind of come back and maybe you win, and maybe you don't. But I don't know. I mean, I think they need to come out and be solid, and certainly not play from behind.
What's the spread on this one? It's probably a
12.
dozen.
Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Win by 15. I need it to be convincing. But that's me. That's my faith reservoir as a fan being immediately depleted after just one punch. Um, So
Show me that
uh,
you care. Show me that you play with some fire and some, that's what I've really appreciated about Balo these last couple weeks is as much as he drives us all crazy with his flaws, the dude is balling. He's really
yeah,
playing
yeah,
hard. And
yeah, he really is.
we need to match that. Yeah, just so we have something fun to cheer about.
So I'm going to be looking at the kids. I want to see the kids show
Uh,
up and show maturity and show that they care. And
KJ, I don't worry about KJ. I think he's got one of the best psyches on the team, but we need to see him make an impact tonight, don't we?
yeah, obviously I love KJ.
Yeah.
But yeah, my final thought, my final stat. Ken Pong games. I was looking at games below a 100 offensive rating. So that's basically like, are you okay
Fine.
or are you
Yeah.
crap on offense? Caleb, Pella, Umar, Keshad, 5 games each, basically below. Just 5. 4 and 6 for Umar and Keshad, but we call it 5 for all of those guys. All the young guys, double digits.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
Kylan, he's got 14 of them.
Yeah. Consistency,
Half
what you've
half
been
his game. Yeah,
preaching.
it's consistency.
Hmm.
Exactly. So like, we're so late in the season to be asking for it, and that's kind of what makes my stomach feel queasy right now. But um, what better time than now?
The runway is shortening and the liftoff must happen soon, but we've still got a little runway. So, Wildcat fans, thanks for, or all fans, if you're here, thanks for joining us. Mike, thank you so much for your analysis, and I look forward to coming back next week and hopefully getting ready for that final LA trip with a final home game of the season on Saturday, like you said, senior night.
Yeah,
Send those guys out against the dang Ducks
yeah.
and bear
Let's go
down.
celebrate. See ya.
Yeah.